I don't know, some other brand, Dior, you spend like $1 million on a fashion show. It's like,
Yeah.
wow, I don't remember doing that. I don't never did that. I would never spend that much money on a show, because that's not really the idea. But I have to say, like, I did focus those shows they were almost like writing projects. It was like writing this kind of fiction about a woman's life and how it was like changing or morphing into something else. Or, it was like, here's the woman, right? She's doing this today. She's wearing this, it was so much more about the woman than it was about clothes, even though, I always considered myself quite good at actually like inventing things, inventing the way clothes are made. Even if it looks like something you've seen before, if you get inside, you will understand how inventive that thing was. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But anyway, so over the years, to answer your question, I mean, I did start kind of in the world of, and clubs were always the easiest, because like clubs were always, they would always book you into a club. And so that's what I started doing. I started doing, little tiny clubs. There was this one club called 88s in the West Village.
Mm-hmm.
And the first time I went was with Liza. She took
Wow.
88s. Like even I didn't know about 88s. Liza took me to 88s. And there was this, I just will never forget this. It was this little show. I guess it was like a variety show. I don't remember who was hosting it, but there was this adorable little queer. I guess he was queer, right? Because I couldn't tell what gender they were, right? But this was so long ago. And they were dressed in a gray flannel suit. I'm not sure you understand like the implications of a gray flannel suit anymore. It was just the most conservative thing in the world. And their hair was just conservative. It looked like a Kennedy or something, right? And they started singing Diamonds Are a Girl's Best Friend. It was one of the best things I ever saw, and suddenly, with Liza, and the two of us was just clutching each other's hands, like going, how adorable is this person, So anyway, so I started working at 88s, and then I started working with a bunch of different directors because I wrote this long show about my life, and I worked with Moises Kaufman, and I worked with Joe Montello, and I worked with this one incredible musical director called Ben Walzer, and he and I have been working together since the 20th century, darling. That's a long time,
Wow.
Yeah.
Do you ever miss fashion? Now that you've reinvented yourself and people are coming up and recognizing you and saying, I saw your show, and they're not asking what size they are. Like, do you ever miss it?
Of course I don't miss it because, I still have quite a very big business in fashion. I have like a really big business. And the thing is, I don't know why people don't ask, some of the performers who have fashion businesses. Well, I mean, the Olsen girls, right? Like they just turned their back on show business and went the opposite direction, But for instance, like who? Like Pharrell? Does Pharrell still have a big presence? Or who's the most fabulous? I mean, who are these fabulous music people that have amazing collections, right? I wonder if people, because somehow that's all fine. You know what I mean? If you start in show business and you go into clothes, it's fine. Like people will totally support that. But somehow when you're in fashion and you try to prove that you can actually tell jokes or act or sing, people just resist. And I'm not exactly sure why, I don't know why.
Well, who has done it besides you? I mean, there might be. I'm just trying to think. I'm thinking like, okay, who has? I mean, I've had Norma Kamali on this show. Love her, but she's not. I mean, I'm going down the list of all of my fashion girls and boys I've had on.
The only person I can think of who actually, but he wasn't exactly a fashion designer, was Joel Schumacher. Did you ever know Joel Schumacher?
Yeah.
Yeah, Joel was his friend, and he worked for Halston for a while. I think he was like a junior, like an assistant there. And then he did windows. He was a window display director, Joel Schumacher. I think he was really in fashion, entrenched in fashion. And somehow he just decided, but he didn't go into performing. He wasn't a performer. He was he became a very famous director, as you know, and an incredibly talented person and a wonderful guy. Yeah.
Do you think it's easy? Because right, okay, so you take like MKO and Ashley Olsen, like Victoria Beckham, even like
Right.
It's a different, but like Kim Kardashian with Skims,
Yeah.
for every success, I'm sure there's ones that we don't hear about, right?
You mean
Like
failure?
yeah, like just,
Oh,
or do you
terrible.
think the door is really wide open? It sounds like you think the door is kind of wide open if you're in entertainment first.
Well, it's no, the door is not wide open unless you're good, unless you're committed and you're good. And I have to say, like, since I started on QVC, what is it now? It's like almost 15 years ago, right? And everybody, because we have one of the biggest businesses there. It's fabulous. It's a very big success. And it requires a very, very big kind of commitment first in terms of, discovering who this person is who's actually, watching you. But then also it's a commitment to design. I know that doesn't sound very, but it's the truth. If you go on qvc.com and look at my clothes, I think you would be very, very pleasantly surprised. They're all incredibly sweet, fantastic. Like you would want, if you were a woman, you'd be like, you know what? I'll take that t-shirt. I'll take these pants. I'll take that little dress, really, because they're all so cute and they're not expensive and they're easy to clean. I mean, so it's a different thing. It's not exactly like fashion, but you know what? I don't know what it is about fashion, like, I think you have to be like a very young person who's really interested in the subject of, because I did that for years, like going out every night and seeing what people are wearing and going, no, that's not right. Here's what you should be wearing. And then you do it, and people become obsessed, right? And it's this groove that you get into, and it becomes this groove in the world. And you see what they're doing, what you're doing. Honestly, for me, the best thing was never to look and see what others were doing. It was just to like sort of do what I wanted to do. And I had people who worked for me who would say, you probably shouldn't do that because so-and-so just showed a collection that was all about that, or something, right?
Right. Why did you say, when I said Kim Kardashian and Skims?
No reason. I just don't think she's an actress or a singer or, she's not any of those things. She's a media star. And so a media star goes into it exactly for the reason, for branding and for diversification. That's what she does. You know what I mean? It's not supposed to be what I do. So when you compared us, I thought, it's apples to oranges, because she pioneered that. She pioneered like branding and just going out there and becoming a media star, and by the way, there have been hundreds of other people who have eclipsed her at this point, haven't there? I mean, she just, right? And learned from her and done what she's done, even more and even better and even bigger. And you know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a lesson in branding.
But
it's
like Rihanna, who is the most incredibly brilliant musician and singer and pop performer and pop icon, right? And she was like, you know what? I'm going to make up this makeup and I'm going to call it Fenty and I'm going to do this collection.